Welcome to the Clause YouTube channel.
Together, we strive for a safer, secure, and more stable world.
Hello, welcome to Strategic Frontlines YouTube channel. This is Dushyant Singh welcoming Mr. Aditya from United States of America. A very warm welcome to you, Mr. Aditya, for this show. I know it's quite early at your end. It's around 6:30 a.m. So thanks a lot for that. And today we are going to discuss something which is in the news, but not many people have really focused on that particular news, and that is the visit of India's Prime Minister to Cyprus. And why is it taking place? What is the significance of this particular visit, and how is it going to also impact the G7 summit, which was going on since yesterday, and the Indian Prime Minister arrived there to a very warm welcome. And we also saw that the President of the United States leaving in a huff for reasons best known to him, because initially we thought he's going back due to the Iran-Israel conflict having flared up. But later on, he also, I think, gave a statement that his departure from G7 is not entirely due to the Iranian situation. But that aside, first of all, let me allow you to introduce yourself so that our audience gets to know exactly, who you are and why we have called you. Because for our audience, you are a new uh, guest. So over to you for a brief self intro. I think that is the better way to start this particular podcast.
So should I continue in English? Is okay? English or
Any-
Hindi?
English is okay, perfectly fine.
Okay. So I'm comfortable in both, so I can talk in any language.
I know, I know. We have been together on various shows, but I would like you to, as you feel comfortable, you can go ahead.
Okay. So I write books. I created the word Sattology because there was a need for it. There was no antonym of the English word mythology. So I created the word Sattology, the science of truth, the study of truth. I have written 15 books, and in my current avatar, I'm running gurukuls in USA for children, Indian American children, or Canadian, or even South American. I live in San Diego. It's one of the most beautiful cities of USA. So, and we have Goshala here. We have all those things here in USA.
Oh, lovely. Lovely. I would also like you to inform our audience that you were recently made the brand ambassador of the original Indians, original
Yes,
American citizens living in America.
yes. I'm the international ambassador for the Apache Nation, Ande Apache Nation. Yes,
Okay. So I think that's a great honor for a person from India to get nominated for this particular post,
yes,
and our congratulations to you for that. And we hope that you take forward their interests quite vigorously, as you have been uh, kind of becoming a source of Indian culture being reared up in California and
yes,
San Diego, which is a very major city and one of the major hubs of California. So, having talked a little bit about yourself and introducing you to our audience, let's begin today's podcast. And it will not be a very long podcast. So, what I will do is I'll briefly set the stage why we are having it. So, look, Cyprus is a country which is, as they say, enemy of enemy is your friend. So if you look at it from that perspective, Cyprus and Turkey do not enjoy a very good relationship, and India and Cyprus historically have enjoyed a good relationship, and somehow the entire composition of Cyprus resembles to some extent the composition of JNK, the way it is today in the current geopolitical environment. And so therefore there is a constant friction over Cyprus. There is a Greek Cyprus and there's a Turkish Cyprus. The Greek Cyprus is independent and absolutely sovereign. it wants to reunite with the portion which is controlled by Turkey, but that's not happening. There is a peace enforced due to the presence of a UN mission there, and they hold the line between the Turkish Cyprus and the Cyprus country as such through a line called the Green Line. And the Green Line is the dividing line between the two regions, and both have a differing position. Turkey wants entire assimilation, whereas Cyprus wants an independent nation by reunification of the portion held by Turkey. So this is a very brief context, and India supports the Cyprus, which is independent and which wants the reunification of the entire Cyprus belt. And in this context, the Prime Minister visited Cyprus. In fact, he would be one of the few Prime Ministers of India who visited Cyprus after nearly 20 years. So that's a historic kind of a messaging, strategic messaging, which
Yes.
which the Prime Minister has given, and the timing is also of very great importance. Just to tell you all, this is the map of Cyprus. Now you find that the one with the yellow color is with the Turks, and the one with the light color is the Cyprus as such. The Prime Minister visited the Cyprus, which is the independent Cyprus, as you may call it. There is some portion in the south which is called the South Base, which is basically UK's territory there. There are various disputes. I will cover these disputes, and I then hand over to Aditya to give the history, geography, and how do we see this particular relationship materializing in the future. So ethnic tensions, like something like JNK, conflict between Greek Cypriots, and which are in majority, and the Turkish Cypriots, which are not in majority. But currently, Erdogan is raking up this issue. There is a UN buffer zone which I referred to, which is the Green Line, which is patrolled by the UN peacekeepers, and then you have the resource disputes. These are essentially on the offshore gas reserves. Turkey feels that it has the right over the Cyprus EEZ, which Cyprus opposes it, and so therefore there is a constant friction on this issue. And then we also have reunification stalemate. As I said, the Cyprus wants reunification under the UN. Turkey wants a two-state solution. So Turkey wants to create and divide this entire thing into two parts. Geopolitical rivalries are there. Turkey's action strains Cyprus' relations with the EU because Cyprus is member of the EU and Turkey is member of NATO. So there is a very complicated kind of a relationship which is going on geopolitically. With this brief background, I will now invite Mr. Aditya Satsangi to actually now take on from here. And how does he see the situation moving forward as far as Cyprus is concerned, and the tango of India, Cyprus affecting the tango of Turkey, Pakistan? So over to you, Aditya.
Very much for inviting me to your channel first, and thank you to all your viewers, and namaste to all the viewers that you have. So when I see this total conflict, so I see that India arriving on the scene now, arriving at the stage. So the never before Indian diplomacy has taken such a courageous step. So Indian Prime Minister went there after 22 years. Or if you look at the Cyprus, if you look at the economic conditions of Cyprus, pretty economically prosperous, despite having very bad few years back, but now they have come back in many good ways. Its per capita income is very high, the GDP is very high, even though they don't produce much, but mostly due to the services. And also, you have also highlighted very correctly that the Turkish people are covering almost like 25% of their land in the north, and this is directly Turkish intervention in this region to counter Greece. That's what they want to do, to counter Greece, and that's why they're there. If you look at the history of Cyprus, ancient history of Cyprus, then They are on the west of Levant and Syria. And their most ancient history in the world is they were the worshippers of deity called Ishtar or Inanna. And
Okay.
Ishtar was, in my books I've mentioned that she's the same as Durga for us, Kokumuki.
Oh, okay.
So Kokumuki, and there is a place called Paphos in southwestern Cyprus, which is right there. Kabura, Paphos, right there.
Okay. Okay.
Paphos
This is
has a very ancient temple of Ishtar, very ancient. See, the way when I look at history, I don't look at history from today's point of view because that's mostly colonial and the narratives are quite missing most of the places. I try to search history 7,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago, and from there you start the nature of the land. So it's a really remarkable thing that Prime Minister Modi is visiting there because we need to not only because see the you know better than me uh, that the deep relationships they are connected around mindsets, and the mindsets are an integral part of that culture of the land, and that continues for thousands of years, and then it comes to today's space. Even though these Cypriots may not be the same Cypriots which you could have seen 6 or 7,000 years ago, but they still have the same culture. The land, the culture of the land is still the same. So they have a innate opposition to Turkey, which is current geopolitical hot space for India. And for Turkey also it's a hot space because now first time India is coming in their backyard, in the south, in the east, in the west, and also probably in the north. But this time, one with Modi ji, the biggest thing has been to dig out the ancient history also. So many agreements were signed over there, and some of the agreements are not publicly being disclosed, and we should also not talk about it. One was strategic roadmap for enhanced bilateral cooperation across innovation, trade, and defense. Now we know what it means: innovation, trade, and defense. Obviously, for India, because Cyprus is a EU member, and can you imagine that is the reason why Turkey is not being given EU membership? They've been given NATO membership because Turkey is a security guard. So security guards are given NATO membership because Ukraine, this was their whole plan was. So any of the eastern periphery countries, they will be given security membership. So they are the security guards of Western Europe. So
Mhm.
but not EU membership. So they're not EU. One of the reasons is Cyprus because Cyprus has opposed it because they occupy 25% of the land.
And there is the need for consensus, I suppose, if you have to be a member of EU.
Yes, it's a consensus. Like all parties must agree. And the
Yes.
and the second thing is very the gifts of the Prime Minister Modi were very unique. He gave Kashmiri silk carpet to President Nikos. So now imagine the what do you call it, projections here. Now he gave a Kashmiri silk carpet to the president of Cyprus, and then he gives a and then he gave a clutch purse crafted in and to the wife he gave in crafted in Andhra. He gave that. The third thing he gave is the Bhagavad Gita book to the
Mhm.
president. Third thing he gives Bhagavad Gita. So it clearly he was very clear in what he gives in terms of Cyprus position. Like if you look at the position of that place, it fits into. See, India has to make all the like when you start a trade route and where India Middle East corridor. When you talk about IMEC, now
Yeah.
India is a central thing in that. Now, if you want to make the trade route, you have to, in the destination, you have to make friends with all the countries who will be part of that trade route. So, so you cannot just go and dictate terms or financially trade deals, because that's not the way business runs. It runs on trust. So, what Prime Minister's visit has done is created trust with the Cypriots they call it, or Cyprus, that we are here to work for a win-win relationship. And being a militarily strong country, because throughout the world, India is known as a very strong military power. In the US also now, after Operation Sindoor, even more. But before that, it was muddied. But now in Operation Sindoor, it has come out to be like very strong partner. Plus, the Indian uh, defense systems have done very well. So ATAGS has done very well. MARG has done very well. Both
Yeah.
are ATAGS is I think DRDO, and MARG is, or both are Kalyani actually. Both are Kalyan, right? Both are Kalyan. And the
Actually, there are others also here producing it, but yes, Kalyani and L&T both have done the attacks, so it's there.
yes, they're doing very well. Pinaka is doing very well. Brahmos. So I do not know whether those kind of levels we will reach over there. But what I foresee, and I have been telling since yesterday, that it may happen that if British withdraw from Cyprus for any reason, economic, mostly economic, then India can always buy that base and say we will
Yeah,
allow you to keep a plane there if it
right.
happens, because India needs a foothold over there. Because in given that situation of that region, we need to have the punishing stick, and it should be big. And so Cyprus gives a very good right there
So
in the south. Mm.
Mr. Aditya is talking about the lower portion which is jutting, which is called the SBE, South Base, and this is held by UK. So if this, for any reason, goes out, I mean the UK goes out from here, this would be a good foothold for India as a international base. This is what he was referring to. Yeah, over to
Yeah.
you, Aditya. Sorry.
Yes. And so it can also serve as a trading base also, because it is right in the middle of everywhere, right at the mouth of, almost to the mouth of Suez Canal, and
Yeah,
then access to Mediterranean and access to Turkey. A lot of things are there. So one very interesting thing, if I talk about a little bit of history, is that the this base was created almost in 1948, or before that, slightly before that, before Israel was created, to keep an eye on Israel, because the British never trusted it. So British always created this base so that they can keep an eye. But over the years, this base has been used. Even now, it is being used because the Israeli planes are coming back over there, refueling and going back and attacking again. So that is being used. Plus, this base has always been used for the to control Turkey to some extent, because this was the, even though Britain is not part of the EU, but this base was also there for the Europeans or EU to put a pressure on Turkey. This base is there right on the south, and the so this relationship of this utility of this base is extremely important for the world as well, for Cyprus and for the world as well. So, so I see that India's Prime Minister's visit to Cyprus is overall very good for everyone, especially India, and also for the Europe countries like Greece and countries like Croatia, countries like Latvia, all of those countries, Moldova, and also for Macedonia, all these countries which are right nearby location over there. For them, it's very good. Interestingly, one more thing happened, that the, if you go back again in the history, Chandragupta Maurya's Hellenic capital was also Istanbul.
yes, that's something which is very important.
So it's a lot of parallels there. So we are back in that region where we used to be. We never
Absolutely.
left the region. There's a very famous saying in English language called Pyrrhic War.
Mhm.
Pyrrhic War was happened in Italian peninsula, not far from here, but the forces had come here. Then they tried to ship elephants to the south of Italy. and from Sicily they went up north to conquer Rome again. So they conquered the Rome, but after a lot of effort. That's why it's called Pyrrhic War. It was a long war.
Yeah.
So that's English phrase is also there. So this region is very close by, and I have been to all these regions many times.
Mhm.
Lot of corruption in Cyprus, but there is a lot of business also. Per capita income is very high. Yes, over to you, sir.
Okay, so you have highlighted, Aditya, a number of issues. A, historical connection, which goes way back, and B, the increasing or improving ties over a period of time, both in the defense and the economy. C, Prime Minister Modi has given a pitch or push to this relationship, which was possibly not even known to many people in the government circles in India. Only the ones who were concerned with this region were probably aware of this thing. But now, with his visit, he has made it kind of a central focus as far as the public opinion also goes. But my question to you is this, that how do you link this Cyprus thing to the ongoing G7 summit? What kind of an impact is it likely to have on the G7 group of nations? You're aware who are the group of nations of G7, barring Japan, and so most of the nations are Europeans or America and Canada. So, how is it going to impact that particular dialogue which is going on in Canada?
So, so, so the thing is, there is a lot of silent projection. Very
Mhm.
inconspicuous projection is there. So G7 got impacted right from the Operation Sindoor, by the way. Operation Sindoor was the first step. And also G7 got impacted by, so all those things were drama done by the Canadians, and all those things were not real news actually, because
Mhm.
because the Indian Prime Minister would cannot be ignored today. In fact, Trump wanted to even call Chinese president and Russian president also,
Okay.
change the entire format of the G7. He wanted to
Mhm.
make it G9. So, but
Okay.
the see, India is still not part of G7. Is an observer.
Yes.
So, uh, so this Cyprus thing is a very power move. That yes, we are in Europe and we have been going to challenge China. So the West wants to hear, and now West, and I live in a Western country. Their mindset is conquistador mindset. You
Mhm.
know, conquerors, keepers, or
Okay.
looters, keepers. That's the mindset. So when you look at this kind of mindset, somebody coming in Cyprus and making these trade deals in such a friendly way and pointing fingers at their NATO membership, because same people are members of NATO too, except one or two
Absolutely.
countries from that.
Yeah.
That's a significant message that says, okay, we are here.
So how do you think it is going to impact the the ongoing talks for trade talks which are going on between EU and India? Will the Cyprus various agreements which we have had, mostly in the economic arena and in the defense also, impact that particular dialogue which is going on, because most of the players are there in Canada today? Do you think this was also one of the reasons why we made this push of Cyprus?
I think for India, G7 is not important. Number one,
No,
we are part
I'm
of
not saying
BRICS.
G7.
Yeah.
I'm not saying G7 is important. I'm saying that the ongoing trade talks which were going on between EU and India, see, EU has been also trying to arrive at tariff talks between India and EU. So, with this Cyprus being a separate agreement which we have reached, will that affect favorably to that ongoing talks, or it is going to be some kind of a hindrance to that?
So India's relationship with member countries of EU will always be bilateral.
Mhm.
The agreement with EU will be on broad terms of engagement with their members.
Okay.
So India will have both the agreements with every country. What I've seen also, one to one,
Mhm.
with each country, because EU you cannot trust for a long term. They can change.
Okay.
They may even disappear due to the Russian
Mm.
pressure.
Okay.
So one to one will always be there, I think.
So there is also a talk going on that Cyprus move by India was essentially to counter Turkey, uh, Pakistan growing relationship between them, which actually adversely, or I won't say adversely, but which saw some kind of manifestation by Turkish support to Pakistan in terms of drones and the other military wherewithal to counter our strikes which took place in Pakistan. So, do you think that will get impacted by this? Because now there will be a on the in the backyard of Turkey, something being done by India. Will that impact Turkey's behavior, or Turkey is likely to choose to ignore it?
Turkey won't ignore it, but
Mhm.
somebody had to give him a lesson, for that country a lesson.
Okay.
And I will say not Turkey, I'll say Islamic Republic of Turkey,
Hmm.
Erdogan. Somebody had to
Okay.
give that person a message. No other country has been able to answer Turkey in the way India has done. It's a classical
Yes.
chess move.
Mhm. So could you highlight also, because India also took some other actions directly against Turkey also. If you see, the trade between Cyprus and India is not very big, but the trade between India and Turkey is fairly big. It's around eight odd billion dollars between India and Turkey, and mostly it's in favor of India. It's not the other way around. Turkey has been importing more from India, whereas in the case of this Cyprus, being a small country, being a very limited population, our trade is around 136.96 million, which it is proposed to be increased or enhanced, but there is a limit to which we can increase the trade with Cyprus given its size and given its requirements and needs. Do you think that somewhere we should also keep some options open with Turkey in terms of at least the economic field or economic domain?
See, feeding Turkey is like feeding a snake, because
Yes.
nowadays the time of, let's not be the old times that we should maintain left hand and right hand. Doesn't work that way. Turkey
Yes.
has been misusing Indian exports to them, like the carpets. Carpets
Hmm.
are made in a city called Badoi in India. Badoi
Yeah, I
is a
know.
very popular city. I have
Yeah,
been there
it's
personally a couple of years back.
yeah, I belong very close to Badoi, so I'm aware of it.
So
It's
that
close to
Badoi,
Banaras.
yes, Banaras. I was there and I had a chance to see all the beautiful carpets over there.
Yeah.
And so the carpets from Badoi are sent to Turkey and then they become Turkish carpets. They don't
Hmm.
manufacture that. They don't have the skills
Okay.
also.
Oh.
So if you go to Cyprus, and Cyprus use Cyprus as a trading point, we can easily
Hmm.
substitute the trading with Turkey. Number one.
Okay. That's an interesting point.
And number two, the Cyprus can give us easier access to the EU than Turkey, because Turkey and EU always fight. It's not a EU member. So Turkey is not very important. Plus, third thing
Hmm.
is Turkey is a problem country for every country in the region. So if you have trade deals with Turkey, other countries won't like you.
Hmm.
So it is far more intelligent choice to make, and Turkey is also going to be in the crosshairs after the Iran operation is over of Israel and US too. So Turkey is a, and Turkey plays double games, like they are supporting Iran, they are opposing Iran also. They're giving their bases to attack. So overall, Cyprus is a better ally. And the for your question, I'll say that the $8 billion trade we have is Turkish contracts in India, which created problems like Celebi.
Yeah.
Uh, and I call it Celebi. People call it Chelebi. You can call it Jalebi also. I don't care for that matter. But we don't care about that. The Turkish
Yeah.
maintenance contracts. We don't care about Turkish maintenance contract. We don't care about Turkish weapons. Turkish weapons have shown that they explode at wrong times in Kurds, against Kurds. So they are not considered very reliable. Third thing is that the Turkish so-called engineering skill set, we have seen so many times Air India plane crashed. Many other countries where they are involved, planes have crashed. So I don't think so. It's a very, I mean, as a consumer, it's a good country for India, but not as a pass-through country.
Okay. Having discussed this Turkey angle with Cyprus, now I have another question which I would like you to answer, and try to imagine out of the box. Why I'm asking you is because I am a military man, so I can actually give you a standard answer, but I want some out of the box suggestions, especially in relation to using. I mean that's the wrong word to use, but taking the route of Cyprus to actually cut Pakistan ability to get supported by Turkey. Uh, can we do that, or this is just a positioning and posturing? Unless, and I put a big unless. Why? Because it's not our stated policy that should we establish some kind of a base in Cyprus over a period of time? Like we have certain assets, if you look at Mauritius or some other places. So if we do something like that, yes, we would then put Turkey on a road of caution. But other than that, do you think there is any scope to uh, push Turkey or do a pushback on Turkey or
So
Turkey as they call it now?
yeah, Turkey is old Sanskrit name, Turkey Amas.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
so when we it's a great question actually. So s- putting a pass-through mechanism in Cyprus is not in any way currently currently targeted at Turkey in any way. India is not doing that. But if you look at the history of India, India has always worked slowly, developed
Hmm.
relationships first, people to people connections, and gradually things emerge. The the Pakistan and Turkish connection is economically empty connection. There is no
Yes,
money in Pakistan and there is no money in Turkey. Both are
correct.
both are fighting for money. And the only country with money, I mean, little bit wealth is China, India, Europe, and Russia. So everyone else around Turkey has money, but nobody is giving money to Turkey. So Turkey is hand to mouth situation right now, to be frank, because Turkey has created problem spots everywhere. Kurds is created by them. Iraqi problem created by them. Now against Iran also, against Armenia also. Azerbaijan is a poor country. Not which friends Turkey has. Now naturally, India must have the. I'm sure this is going to come out that the Cyprus
Okay, I think we have lost him in connection. What? Uh, yeah, I think we lost Aditya in the connection. But till he comes online, I think he would be sorting out. Yeah, are you back,
yes,
Eddie?
I'm here. Yes.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Go ahead. You were
So
out
so
of
I was
communication for.
yeah. What I was saying was that India will make slow moves. So first open the
Mhm.
trade, open the culture, and gradually military is going to follow too. So Turkey knows that, but believe me, Turkey will always surrender. 1914 surrendered against Indian forces.
Mhm.
1945 surrendered against Indian forces, both times. So the only soldiers, see, Turkey is like Pakistan. Ha 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 ha. And then nothing.
So all gas, no muscle. Okay.
Most Islamic
I,
countries are like that. Most Islamic countries are like that. Ha 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 ha. Okay, nothing.
okay, Aditya, there is alliance brewing up here, or I won't say alliance, but a partnership brewing here of Greece, Armenia, India, Cyprus. How do you see this as a counter, or a kind of a cause of worry to Turkey? I think there is a scope for this particular partnership or particular forum to grow bigger and stronger. Uh, then Cyprus is not just the small Cyprus. Then it is Armenia, it is Greece, it is Cyprus and India. Then it becomes a sizable. presence in the Mediterranean, a kind of a alignment which would be a direct concern to the Turkey, and therefore it's focused purely towards the eastern frontier, trying to establish itself as the leader of the Ottoman or erstwhile Ottoman Caliphate. I think will suffer a little bit. So, what are your views on this?
See, Great Triangle, understand that Cyprus will always be more important than all the other two countries, Greece as well as Armenia, because it's a gateway
Okay.
to EU,
Hmm.
and it's a gateway to EU, and it falls in the way. So after that comes Greece. Now, Greece, Greece is suffering from Turkey, but Armenia is the most militarily armed country by India, and I've
Hmm.
heard reports that even the Indian army personnel are strategically advising them, Armenia. So Armenia is the sword from the east, and
Hmm.
Cyprus is the, you can call it, the shield from the south, and Greece is another sword from the west. But Greece has fought for Cyprus. Greece and Cyprus are allied countries.
Okay.
It was Greek Cypriots versus Turkish Cypriots.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this triangle is a very powerful triangle, and I think Turkey is going to get cooked between the three.
Okay, so Aditya, I want to share something very interesting here. The other day, I was in Gwalior and I was interacting in the Scindia Foundation, Scindia Center, which is dealing with, it's a think tank of Scindia, and essentially trying to rejuvenate the Gwalior state forces. I was very, intrigued by the fact that the most of the advisors or most of the trainers for the Maratha soldiers who actually started the Muhim for Swaraj, Armenians were in large numbers who came here to actually to train our Shivaji's forces, even Madji Rao's forces, which is the Gwalior state forces, and other Maratha confederacies which were there. So it's not that it's a very recent connection between Armenia and India. This is just to tell our audience that Armenia and India go back a long way, like Cyprus. So therefore, it's nothing. I mean, I saw a question there. Chandra Gupta went up to Istanbul, etc. It's been there. It's been there. It's a connectivity which has been there for ages, and we somehow forgotten about our connectivities in our endeavor to become too closed and too inward looking. I think that shackle of inward lookingness which India had, a defensive mindset, is slowly being broken, and you find the our current political leadership, whether it is the Prime Minister who's doing it or through delegations which are going all over the world, we are trying to open out this particular connectivities which were there existing in the past. We have not been utilizing it. We have not been leveraging it. So, if anything more you know about this historical connect, I think people will be able to understand why we are going into the Mediterranean.
Very classical argument is there. They can come to India on horses, but we cannot go there on horses.
Yeah.
It's the mindset, right? They can
Yes.
come, but we cannot go. And everybody knows in the history of world, India has been a naval power. You know, 1741 after Shivaji Maharaj, Marthand Varma from south. You
Yeah.
know, Shivaji
Chola.
Maharaj is Shivaji Maharaj himself had a navy. Now, before that, start going backwards. There is a port in called There is a very sacred place in Maharashtra called Surparak Tirth, which
Mm-hmm.
is today known as Nala Sopara
Mm-hmm.
in Bombay, north of Bombay. That was a very famous port during Mahabharata time,
Mm-hmm.
and that port had connections to the Africa and all the European nations. That port
Ethiopia in
since that
particular.
time, yes. And this I'm talking from the Mahabharata period, because before that period, people start thinking other words and all those things. The the location of, if you look at the actual birth period of Chandragupta Maurya, which is
Mhm.
not what they say 300 BC. Chandragupta Maurya's period birth is, and I'm going to shock your audience actually, but I have to
Mhm.
say it, 1800 BC prior. That's the actual time.
Okay.
And because if you keep believing in Western historians and European historians, you will never talk from your perspective, because they have to justify their dates which they put out wrong in the first place.
Yeah.
So, and when they teach you that colonial history and you start agreeing with them, then we are going to swallow their analysis too. How this happened, you cannot do it, we are only can do it, we are Europeans, you can do it. So I think we have to change the way we look at things. And Chandragupta Maurya, well recorded history, not by Europeans, not by anyone, but Chandragupta Maurya's historians, that he was ruling the Hellenic kingdom, and the Hellenic kingdom was based in that time. Also, the name was Turkey. Land was still the same, Turkey, and very clearly mentions that he is between a very thick sea and a light sea, so which is
Okay.
the Black Sea. So it's very clearly mentioned there. And if you look at the old records of Constantinople, and Constantinople is a new name. So you look at the old records, you'll find seals of Chandragupta Maurya all over Turkey, all over
So,
Turkey.
so Adi, I think you have covered and given a very good brief on the historic connect of India and the Mediterranean and Cyprus in particular. So, I will only request the audience to actually go in deeper, look at alternate sources of history, and then try to match up. Whatever has been written and fed to us may not be the truth. They say that history is always written by the victors, and sometimes the Indian history has been written, but it has lost. Like all of you know, the Chanakya manuscript was found only in the 19th century, and they have done some kind of a dating and said that it was found in third century. It was originated in third century BC. Then they've also said that it has not been written by one person, but over a period of time, people have added to it, and we are believing it, right? Because they put in that stamp of science and dating, etc. So with that, I think we will take on some questions, Ari, because there are a few questions in the chat box. So I will start with that. The Of course, somebody has given a just an addition to your statement that Chola home also naval army. Yes,
Yes.
that's true. And then Thadani wants to ask you: the Greek god Zeus may as well be the European version of the Indradev. Thus, to deal with the Greeks would be relatively easier than the rest. Your views?
Actually, yes, you're right. Actually, the Zeus is actually from Mount Olympian. Mount
Okay.
Olympian is in Cyprus. So
Mm-hmm.
Mount Olympian, the main god was Zeus, and Zeus refers to sun. Odin
Okay.
refers to Indra. So
Okay.
Odin is Indra, and Thor is also a Greek god actually. So the origin of all the Greek gods is Cyprus. That's why for Greeks, the original culture, pre-Christian culture, Cyprus is the home.
Okay. Okay. Then the next question is from Alia M. Is India trying to improve relations with Turkey, or with it to Cyprus was the statement saying India doesn't care about mending ties with Turkey and is looking beyond them, like with Armenia, Greece, and Cyprus? This is
So
a viewpoint. Yeah, go ahead.
Indian diplomacy works in a very mature way. They are not there to give answers on all these things, and I think it's a very in some cases it's going to try to keep the relationship with Turkey going, because it is natural to give with relationship with Turkey. You have to understand one thing here, that Turkey has done actions which are not in the interest of India, so they will bear the repercussions for that. For without, there's no reason they it will happen. But at the same time, India is going to move with Cyprus because the IMEC has to go. Remember one line: where the money goes, attention flows. That's what India is following. With Turkey, there is no money. We are spending money over there with them.
Okay. Next question is from Aishwarya. She is one of our research scholars. Turkey is also trying to make its way into IMEC. How are other countries likely to handle this, given the tension between Cyprus and Turkey? For India, Cyprus works better, but how will others view this? Yeah, this is a question which I also had in my mind, but good that she has asked you. Yeah, your comments on this.
See, Turkey will see IMEC is a corridor. All countries can come and join over there with some conditions, obviously. And Turkey will be opposed by the member countries surrounding it. You answered your own question, but naturally they'll be opposed. See, India's strategy is one of the very smart strategies. First, make friendships on the path where you're trying to go, and then make the path, and then create the basis for that path. So
Yeah,
India has
create the
created all the
momentum. Yeah, create
create
the
momentum,
momentum.
create a momentum. So the
Yeah,
destination has to be ready before the source, because source is always ready. Now
yeah,
in the middle, people have to be ready. So India has done a very smart move, right from
yeah.
Africa, by the way. Northeastern Africa, you look at the map, Northeastern Africa, Middle East, you see India has friends in UAE, Saudi Arabia. Syria is a terrorist country right now, but anyway, it is going to get sorted out because Israel is in power. And so literally Israel controls the airspace over there, and then slowly it goes off the and it goes into Europe, because Europe is the main thing everyone is trying to get into, so that if the something happens to the US economy, Europe is there.
So, Addy, this is, I mean, by same person, she indirectly answers the first question. Cyprus is not a direct part of him, IMEC, but some have called it a natural fit, which is good. Its geographical location, as you can see, we had shown it on the map also. Deep water harbors and energy potential. How feasible is Cyprus integration into IMEC? And here, just say a few words about the Turkey's manipulation to get into the IMEC. I believe it has conveyed its displeasure as to being avoided, and the whole IMEC getting routed through Greece rather than Turkey.
No, actually, Cyprus is going to be an important part of IMEC. That's why India is going to Cyprus, because Cyprus is a conduit, is a pathway to Greece, because you need many blessings to make it happen. You need British blessings. British are controlling part of the island. You need blessings of the other countries also around it. So in that way, it's going to happen, because Egypt is a very insecure country. People may not know Egypt, but I can tell you one thing: there's only one city in Egypt, which is Cairo. There's nothing else in Egypt. Everything else is like in the air. Anyone who knows Egypt, so the whole Egypt is just one city called Cairo, and
Mhm.
it looks big on the map, but there are no people anywhere.
Yeah,
So it's just Egypt. So Cyprus is going to play a very important role.
yeah, yeah.
Because
So, absolutely. This map, if you look at it now, see the location of Cyprus where Nicosia is written, Cyprus next to it. From Haifa, the way IMEC has been planned. Haifa today is, of course, under attack by Iran. But as and when situation stabilizes, you'll find from Haifa, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Haifa, Cyprus, Greece. Turkey is left to the side because Turkey is the old route, where Bosphorus, etc., have been used. But this route clearly leads you into the European landmass, and thereafter it is free run to go anywhere in Europe with the trade. So that is one of the reasons why she mentions it as a natural fit. So I just wanted to add to what
think,
I add.
think think of another thing also, that even
Yeah.
Turkey might break up. Think of that
Okay.
possibility also, because there are 87 districts in Turkey. Each one of them
Hmm.
have their own independence movements.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
it's a it can be any direction. The situations are so fluid now. You don't know which
Hmm.
borders are going to stay, and I think the old nation state boundaries are going to fall.
Okay. So this is just to tell you the comment which I made. I am delightfully surprised that Chandragupta Maurya had Istanbul as his Hellenic capital. So which is something which I think some of our audience have definitely got some kind of a, you know so there is also a connect which one of our very, very keen listeners, Surya Siddhanta, was done 24,000 years ago. In light of this, Turkey of the present may have been Sanatan to start with, and mosque in Istanbul, a Hindu temple. You see, this is connecting, but let me ask my expert, who is a historian by nature. Yeah.
I have written extensively on this. See,
Hmm.
ancient culture of Turkey is They call it shaman. Shaman is a pejorative word. I don't believe in the word shaman.
Mhm.
Shaman is a fake word created. Ancient culture of Turkey is Tengri. Tengri is another
Okay.
name of Shiva, and their most
Mm.
sacred symbol is Trishul, which you also
Okay.
have, claws.
Mhm.
So that is Shiva's weapon, Pinaka. That's his most sacred symbol. And people have said a lot of misinformation about Chandragupta Maurya. Now I'm looking at the researchers from Moscow. I'm looking at researchers from Cairo. Believe me, University of Cairo and University of Moscow has been one of my best friends in
Mhm.
many of my research work. And and the professors over there have an inherent independent view than the Western professors. So
Okay.
we have to so I always say that science needs to be validated by Veda, not the other way around. So,
Mhm.
and if you don't do yoga, then you are not a Vaigyanik, by the way, because your mind is not controlled. How can you be a Vaigyanik? So if you look at from an independent point of view, then the original culture of Turkey is Sanatan, and their culture is shared with Mongolians and Central Asians, Uzbeks, Mongols. The biggest misconception, let me break it, and I've said it 1,000 times before also, that Genghis Khan was a Muslim. Genghis Khan was not a Muslim, because
Yeah.
Khan
That is
Khan
that I fully agree with you. Even the Mongolians, when they come here, visit India, they clearly say he was not a Muslim. His name is Genghis Khan.
yeah, Khan in Mongolian language means shepherd.
That and it is Khan, not
Shepherd.
Khan. Yeah,
Khan. The
it's
English
Khan.
cannot write.
K-A-N.
The problem is in the English language, not in the
Absolutely
pronunciation.
correct.
So when you speak English, they make H, like when they write my name also. They have been not able to pronounce my name accurately for last 30 years. I've been living in the
Mhm.
West for a long time. 97 since 97 I'm here, almost 28. They're not able to pronounce my name. So I have to ask them, if you can't pronounce my name, why should I pronounce your name properly? Very simple.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So that mindset has to be there.
Yeah.
So yes,
So
it is
you know
a
this.
Hindu.
Yeah, this thing about the Ganges, it's actually Ganges Khan. That the correct pronunciation is Ganges Khan. We recently had a Mongolian delegation coming to Claude, and I asked this question to him, specifically because this was plaguing the mind of a lot of scholars of art. And the delegation leader actually explained, no, we are not Muslims. Our names are being pronounced incorrectly. It is
There's
Khan,
Sanatani, there's
not
Shivji, the
Khan.
symbol is
Yeah,
Trishul.
yeah, it's not Khan, it is Khan. And he kept on telling me that, and this is, mind you, today. It's not even talking of some people way back 100 years, 200 years back. No, it is today the people of Mongolia call themselves as that. And the inner Mongolia thing which goes on between China, and that's an area again. I think India will slowly and steadily make an inroad for dealing with our northern neighbors. With that, we'll come to the last question, Aditya, and thereafter we will call it a day. Aside from overpriced products and services and a disadvantageous technology sharing, what exactly does the Mediterranean bring to the table in the fast approaching global logistic gridlock? So this is something which I thought probably you may be able to answer, but
See,
over to you. Your comment.
yeah, Tadani ji, like in one thing I'll tell you, Mediterranean has great salads, number one. And you have some lot of good countries around it. You have Italy, you've got Greece, you've got Spain, you've got all these countries around it, France. So you have all these countries around it. And Mediterranean has a North African countries also, which are also major trading partners. Now, so the for us, uh, so Mediterranean is a path for coming to Atlantic as well. Easier path for India because the Suez Canal is right there, and easier path to come to Atlantic rather than going through the Cape of Horn, like all the way south of Africa.
Yeah.
So, so it's a better choice. And the second choice India has is through the Arctic, and the Arctic is also a good choice for India from Vladivostok to all the way to Europe. That is a shorter route than Suez Canal also. But for India, Suez Canal is the shortest route because they are right here. So Mediterranean is always be good for India. For Europeans, Arctic and all those options are there for them, but their Russia is sitting, so I think it's going to be tough for them. So that's why we need to have good relationship there. India can sell a lot over there, and I think with Turkey we're going to bypass Turkey for carpets for sure. Number one, I never wanted my carpet to have made in Turkey stamp on it when I know it is from Baduy. So I don't want that. So I want to go directly to the market, and that's why Mediterranean is important.
So, thank you, Mr. Aditya. I think we had a good, nice discussion, good historical perspective of Cyprus, its importance to India, its importance in the Mediterranean, and also in the future, in the context of dealing with Turkey-Pakistan axis and the Turkey-EU dynamics, as also to some extent the US influence in this particular region. So, it's an investment. I think it's an investment towards the right direction, and for that we need to compliment the current political leadership for having given this forethought before Prime Minister embarked on his visit to G7, which was, in any case, he was going there as an observer, which is a very good thing. He would have exploited for the future, especially the Sindoor narrative, which was somewhere getting haywire, and slowly things will start falling in place. With that, thank you very much, and good luck to you. Jai Hind. Will keep in touch in future as well.
Yeah, thank you.